Don't give up what you want most for what you want now. This is a quote that I wish I had heard in my 20s because my entire life could look completely different had I not made the financial mistakes that I made over the last decade. Looking back on my 20s, there are many things that I regret and wish that I hadn't done or had done differently. So I'm making this video to share them with you, and hopefully you can avoid making some of these mistakes that I had made and set yourself up for a better financial future. Now, I started earning when I was in my early 20s. I built a couple of businesses and they were paying quite well. But now the problem was, because of how I grew up and the environment that I grew up in, I was coming from a place of lack. Like, I had this void that I needed to fill just to get to what feels like the base level of what everyone else had. So I was pretty much blowing off most of my money, buying up all of the stuff that I never had growing up, which led me to making the first financial mistake that I made in my 20s, which is constantly trying to impress other people. Until now, I can't really explain why this was such an important thing to me. It might have been a mix of a low self-esteem and just a lack of confidence, to the extent that it became a huge motivator for me to work hard and achieve success just so that I can prove my worth to other people. It almost became an obsession for me that it was so important to look rich, regardless of whatever my actual financial situation was. So I do all sorts of dumb shit like buying expensive cars and renting expensive apartments, and I wasn't necessarily very happy at the time, even though it looked like I had it all on social media. As far as other people were convinced that I was a baller, that's what kept me going. It wasn't until 2020 when the pandemic happened, and unfortunately my business and my income took a huge hit, where I even ended up homeless. Well, technically, because I was bunking out at my girlfriend's mom's house and renting Airbnbs until I finally managed to get a place of my own again. That's when I realized that no one really cares. No one really cares what car I drive or what kind of house I live in. And so it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, because when I was down and out, no one cared, and rightfully so, because it isn't their problem. So this was an important realization for me, that trying to impress people was a complete waste of time, energy, and money. And now I've gone a full 180 to not giving a fuck about what anybody thinks. I went from driving a BMW convertible to now a beat up old Hyundai that's paid for, so I have no monthly payments on it. And the funny thing is, I'm a lot happier now than in those years when I had all the expensive stuff. I saw this quote the other day and it went something like, the quickest way to be rich is to act broke, and the quickest way to be broke is to act rich. So remember, the goal is to actually be rich, not just to look it. Number 2, not living below my means. So while I'm thankful that I didn't end up in any sort of debt and I managed to not spend more than what I could afford, it is unfortunate though that I wasn't able to live below my means, which is something I wish I had done in hindsight, because this would have tremendously helped me in accelerating my progress towards achieving financial freedom by cutting out unnecessary expenses. I really hate to think about all the money that's been wasted on stupid things like new clothes that I barely even wore, eating out, and ordering Uber Eats all the time. Because if I had managed my money better, then I probably would have been able to invest more of it and have a much greater net worth today. It might sound unrealistic, but every single dollar really adds up. It's like what Benjamin Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. So for you guys watching this, remember, if you can, try to always live below your means, because your future self will greatly thank you for it. Number 3, not tracking my expenses. Along with the earlier mistake, when I was in my 20s, I didn't bother tracking my expenses because I knew there'd be more money coming in the following month from my business. So I was spending like there was no tomorrow. But if I had been tracking my expenses, then I probably would have seen how much of my money is being wasted on stuff that I don't actually need, and I could have avoided the earlier mistake altogether. But the reality is that it is hard to be financially responsible and do things like tracking your expenses if you're coming from an unhealthy space mentally and needing to prove your worth and try to impress other people. So that's the first thing I would have worked on if I could go back in time. Now though, I make it a point to at least have a rough budget on a spreadsheet every month where I'd write down all of my fixed expenses like my mortgage, utilities, food, stuff on my dogs, etc. And when I'm out, I like to use the wallet app because it has a really nice user interface and adding new transactions is super quick and easy. Plus, you can even directly link your bank account to this app, so all of your bank balances and spending can be directly tracked on this app at a glance. This is something that I probably could have used a decade ago. Number 4, being greedy when it comes to investing. Now, a lot of people I know don't invest or wait too long to start investing. So I'm glad to say I actually did start investing after attending a few courses on it. I created my brokerage account, deposited some money and bought my first stock. But I had the wrong mentality and would check to see the balance every single day and end up getting frustrated that it wasn't growing as fast as I had hoped. Or worse, it was losing value, which is perfectly normal for stocks to have slight retracements or pullbacks from time to time. Now, what I did then, because I was impatient and I got greedy and wanted to see huge returns fast, I started dabbling in options trading, specifically really high risk options trading without a clear strategy, without any sort of risk management. And in the beginning, I was making a lot of money and fast. But needless to say, all that was short-lived and I lost way more money than I had made. So I learned a very important lesson. Now, I still do trade options actively today, but unlike how I did it back then, now I'm always focused on risk management and being safe. So the lesson here is don't be impatient with your investments and accept the fact that you're not going to see any sort of huge returns in the short term. But at the same time, don't let that discourage you or stop you from continuing to invest. Investing needs to become part of your lifestyle where every time you get paid, you should always set aside a portion of it to be invested. All right, now number 5. Procrastinating. Okay, this is something I know a lot of people also struggle with, and you might think, how is this a financial mistake? Well, your finances are a result of your habits, and if one of your habits is procrastination, then I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it means all of your financial goals are gonna end up also getting delayed. So for me, this is an ongoing problem that I'm constantly trying to overcome, coupled with the fact that I have ADHD, which makes it like a million times harder to stay focused and get things done. Even like when I was writing the script for this video, I kept getting distracted and I had to fight really hard and use all sorts of productivity hacks that I know to help me get it done. So back in my 20s, I had all these big goals and aspirations, but unfortunately, I succumbed to the procrastination beast and would constantly make excuses of why I couldn't do it on a particular day or how I didn't feel ready or I didn't have the right tools or whatever it was. And so as a result of that, I ended up losing so much money in the form of the potential income I could have earned, and I lost a ton of time that I'm never getting back because of all the procrastinating and constantly waiting for the perfect time to do something that needed to be done. So if you're in your 20s or heck, whatever age you might be watching this, if there's something you've been meaning to do, whether it's to start a business or apply for a new job or whatever the heck it might be, do yourself a huge favor and do it now. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be done. Otherwise, you might end up making a YouTube video about it some years from now, talking about it being one of the mistakes you wish you hadn't made. But for real though, one of my favorite quotes that I try to live by is, done is better than perfect. So instead of waiting for the perfect time or to do it when you feel like it, just get it done and get on with it. Now finally, number 6, not protecting my time. And specifically, not protecting my time and who gets access to me. So back in the day, I would oblige to almost every invite or whatever event or things with friends or family. And even sometimes when I didn't really want to go, I would feel bad saying no, and I would tell myself I'd just go for a while and leave. And usually I'd end up feeling really horrible and have my energy really drained after that. Worst of all, this came at the expense of me giving up my time that I could have used to do the things that I liked or work on things that would have helped me achieve my goals. So of course, looking back, I've learned to honor myself and put myself first, as selfish as it might sound, because no one's gonna look out for me like I would. And so for you, if you're watching this, you probably have goals and aspirations of becoming financially successful, and that is gonna take time and sacrifices. So I wish I knew this back then, but being able to say no to things is one of the most important skills that we could learn. Always remember, if you have to make a decision about something, especially if it's about going somewhere or spending time with some particular people, ask yourself if that's truly what you want to do, because if it's not a hell yeah, then it sure as hell is a no. These days, I'm a lot more mindful about how I spend my time and who I choose to spend my time with. I only want to surround myself with people that I feel happy with, that inspire me and are generally aligned with my values. I would avoid spending any time with people who are constantly negative and are complaining about things because, you know, good vibes only. Especially if you're on this journey where you're trying to save money and grow your wealth, then you have to avoid hanging out with people who spend money carelessly or excessively, like always needing to have the latest and greatest tech or expensive clothes or things like bottle service at the club. On the rare occasions that I do get a table at a club, it's paid for with leverage or passive income, because I think it's stupid if you're spending money on things like that using income from a 9 to 5. So those are some of the many mistakes that I had made back in my 20s that you should avoid if you want to become financially successful. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please drop a like down below and consider subscribing for more videos about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and investing. Now in the meantime, check out this other video right here that I think you might enjoy. For now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.